What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video. Today is going to be a bit of a draft situation that we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about wide receivers and one in particular, and it's Xavier Legette. And again, if you haven't watched the channel before or haven't watched a whole lot, maybe, then you just need to know. Not a big college fan. I don't watch a whole lot of college football. I've always been a bit of a Michigan fan. If I am rooting for somebody, it's Michigan. But I don't watch a whole lot of college football. And I had honestly never heard of Xavier Legette before I saw his name in the comments section. But there were a couple different people that put his name there. So I thought, hey, this is a name that I need to go check out. If there are guys talking about, hey, he's showing out right now in the Senior Bowl practices, then this is a guy I think we need to pay attention to. Whatever happens in the Senior Bowl, I think we need to pay attention to. And if you're like me and you don't know a whole lot about him, just know I did my homework a little bit, just started doing some homework. So there's still more research going into draft picks. But the beginning of what I can tell you is that in 2023, he had 71 catches for 1,255 yards and 7 touchdowns. That is 17.7 yards per catch. And I'll just say straight up, the argument against him and the thing that's going to make me nervous, just like when you hear this, it's going to make you nervous. Like you're looking at 2019, 9 catches. 2020, 7 catches, 2021, 8 catches, 2022, 18 catches. Like he didn't do much of anything. Now, in his defense, even though he only had 42 catches in his first 4 years of school and at college, he ended up with 5 touchdowns. So wasn't getting the ball a lot, but was somebody that they went for in the red zone, and which it's understandable. He's 6'3", 225. So this is another big body guy, right? We already have Michael Pittman Jr., hoping that we're able to get Michael Pittman Jr. back. And then you have Alec Pierce, a couple of big body wide receivers. So then you go out, you get another big body wide receiver. What does that do for the team, right? But here's what I'm thinking, okay? The little bit that I've watched, I've read some analysis, heard some analysis, watched a little bit of film. And what I can tell you right now is that I think that there's a chance that he could come in and start. With what we've seen from Alec Pierce so far, if he's not going to take that next step, right? If Alec Pierce is just not going to take that next step, then I think Xavier Legette is somebody that can step in and be able to do that. Now, the reason I say that is because physically they are very comparable, like in a lot of different ways. But for me, like the comparison that I'm seeing, and I've seen a couple of different comparisons, but I thought it was interesting. I saw one person that said that he was kind of comparable to DK Metcalf. And when you look at him physically, like just his stature, like, yeah, there is definitely some comparison there. He's a very jacked individual, right? I don't know if he's quite as wide as DK Metcalf, but Xavier Legette is built and could definitely fight off some tackles, which he has shown the ability to be able to do. Again, the little bit that I watched, it was a lot of broken tackles running through guys trying to, grab onto him with one hand to be able to bring him down. And he's just shrugging it off like it's nothing, keeps on running. But not only does he have that toughness, but like Michael Pittman Jr. has that toughness too, right? That's where there's a lot of comparison to Michael Pittman Jr. here, but where he's more comparable to DK Metcalf is when you're talking about those physical attributes. He has the speed, man, the breakaway speed. There are times where he's catching the ball and then you just see him pull away as he's running, just pulling away from everybody on the field. There are times where, and I remember specifically in some of the film I was watching from the Florida game, where he was just, it looked like he was moving at a different speed than the other wide receivers and cornerbacks on the field. Like he just took off on a route. Now, he's not the most polished route runner, but the reason that I'm not really going to care about that right now is because neither is Alec Pierce. So he can step in and fill into Alec Pierce's spot and it'd be at least the same, right? They would at least be the same. But with Reggie Wayne being the coach, I just feel like something has to give. Maybe Alec Pierce just can't figure it out. But I think if you're going to have a role in your offense where it's mostly just downfield, you're not going to let a guy really operate too much in the short field. Then if you have Xavier Legette fit in, then he can at least, he's shown ability to be able to separate on different routes. Okay. Not the most polished route runner all the time, but his ability to be able to find separation is great. And even when he doesn't find separation, his ability to track the ball in the air, right, be able to go up and get it, right? Spencer Rattler was his quarterback. Okay. And yes, Ben the Rattler, say what you want about him, decent at different times, but not the most accurate quarterback. Underthrew Xavier Legette quite a bit, had some different passes, passing behind him a couple of times. And Xavier Legette is still able to either go up and get the ball, and he's excellent at tracking the ball, excellent at catching in traffic, has really strong hands, really good at the point of attack, that apex point where the ball is, really good at making sure he's the one that's catching. But also on throws that are errors by the quarterback, he's able to adjust himself to be able to go get the ball. And I know when we're watching on TV, some of those things doesn't look as hard as so the NFL players make it look easy, right? It is so difficult with as fast as those guys are running and as much as these guys weigh, it's so difficult to just stop momentum right away, be able to adjust back to the ball like that. But Xavier Legette, again, physically is a freak, and he's able to put the brakes on, come back, have the explosiveness to go and get the ball. I saw a couple different examples of it, and again in the Florida game, he seemed to have dominated that game. So I think there's a lot of upside with Xavier Legette. I'm glad that people have mentioned this name. It's somebody that I'm going to be paying a whole lot of attention to. Somebody that I can't wait to see what happens in the Senior Bowl, and I want to see what kind of impact he has. And again, the 1 year of starting is really, the big detriment here. Like, yeah, it's a bit risky. He's also 23 years old, right? 5 years of college. He's 23 years old right now. So he's going to be a little older coming into the league. So by the time his first contract runs out, this seems like a guy that could just be like a draft him and use him as a rental kind of guy. And I think he could work in different ways, right? Talked about maybe he takes out Pierce's spot. But one of the things that intrigues me is that he's a 6'3" guy that at South Carolina, they had him in different motions all the time. And that's something that in the NFL, traditionally, the slot guy does a lot of movement, right? So maybe we could see Josh Downs and Xavier Legette kind of split that role. And I honestly think that would kind of be the best way to go about it. You have Alec Pierce, who has 3 years of experience, so he can keep his role, and you can use him on the last year of his contract. You bring Michael Pittman Jr. back to be the number one. And if you have Josh Downs starting, then you can have Xavier Legette, and he can use a year of getting coached by Reggie Wayne, getting coached by Shane Steichen, get a year in this offense, get a year to get acclimated with Anthony Richardson. And I think going into his second year, right, you let him develop, for the most part, develop and then get some reps throughout his first season. I think that would be better for him with not, I don't want to say raw talent. Like we say raw talent, like Anthony Richardson is a raw talent, but Anthony Richardson showed that he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL as long as he can stay on the field. So Xavier Legette, like he has some things that he needs to work on. And I think with, again, Reggie Wayne and Shane Steichen as his coaches, I feel like there would be a way for him to get better through his first season, get out of that first season, then go into his second season knowing what he's going to have to expect from, mini camps and OTAs and training camp, right? He knows what to expect in his second season. And then that's when we could see the ascension where Alec Pierce maybe isn't here anymore. And then he goes to the outside and you have Michael Pittman Jr., Xavier Legette, and Josh Downs. And of course, that's forward thinking. I know we're getting past 2024 at this point when you start talking about all that, but those are the things, like, we're planning for the future. When you're drafting a guy, you're planning for the future and what you see his role being and how you see his career going on your team. And so for me, I think it's a prospect that the Colts should definitely be considering, somebody that knowing Chris Ballard, the physical profiles that he likes at different positions, Xavier Legette is definitely going to be on his board. And that's what, you saw the thumbnail, man. I think this is something that could be likely. I think it's something that could definitely happen for the Colts. So if we're going to be realistic, Xavier Legette is a realistic pick at number 15. Okay, and I'd like to know what your opinion is, of course, on this subject. You let me know down in the comment section. And we're going to continue to have more conversations like this. So please hit that subscribe button and have notifications turned on so you get notified when any videos do come out. And with that said, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.